going on, Jerome's? It's a beautiful Thursday, and nothing unites the Vikings fan base like, hey, maybe the Vikings will trade down. And especially with GM Kwesi adofo-mensah, yes, trading down 2022 and passing up Jordan Davis and also notably Kyle Hamilton and taking Lewis Cine at 32, who I don't know, hasn't worked out as of yet. So anytime you bring up potentially trading down in the draft, people get very upset. It's like, oh, why are you passing up all that value? Well, unfortunately, just really looking at the board, I think that there is a logical and a very plausible case for the Vikings trading out from 11 if and when the board breaks bad, or breaks bad in terms of for the Vikings. And I actually do think that it would behoove Kwesi to be able to seek out some value and in terms of a trade down, especially if the guy that you want isn't necessarily there. You don't have to reach for value. Drafting for need keeps you drafting for need. But also the Vikings have a couple of spots where, hey, all right, so if the top guy on the board at 11 is an offensive tackle or a wide receiver, you in? Nah, probably not. But I think the Vikings can maneuver and Kwesi can cook and be able to add some serious value to this class. So first off, reasons why the Vikings could trade down. So if the top three quarterbacks are gone and the Vikings are sort of on the remaining quarterbacks, or if they do see a path where the Vikings could trade down into the first round and maybe at the top of the second round and still get their guy, I think that's the way to go. So if May, Williams, and Daniels are off the board in the top 10, which I think is probably pretty likely, do you just stick and pick and take Penix or Nix or McCarthy or whoever? Or do you foresee them and the board breaking out where you could get them at the back of the first in a trade down, or you could even get them in the second round? I think it's something that the Vikings could take a look at. Number two, offensive tackle, wide receiver brings their milkshake brings all the other teams to the yard. So looking at, all right, so this is just a composite big board. I forget which side it is, but up at the top, So Harrison Jr. is probably not getting out of the top 5, probably not getting past 4 with the Cardinals. But say wide receivers like Malik Neighbors or Odunze, maybe they fall out of the top 10, and a team is very inclined and motivated to get up to 11 to go get them. Or say Brock Bowers drops out of the top 10, or one of the key offensive tackles like Alt or Fashanu fall out of the top 10, and the Vikings are sitting pretty at 11, and the team really wants to get into a tackle or Bowers or a top and wide receiver, and the Vikings are able to leverage out and get a lot of value in trading down, as well as acquiring a whole bunch of picks. I think that could make sense. The next, so Vikings needs edge rusher, defensive interior, and cornerback. So they're not top heavy, and would it shock me if there is only, say, one of those three positions in the top 10? Not really. I mean, maybe an edge like maybe Turner, maybe an interior like Jerzon Newton. Maybe they'll go top 10, sure. But there isn't. This is an atypical class in that there isn't like a tier 1 edge rusher. There isn't a tier 1 cornerback. But what there is that there will certainly be a lot of value at the back end of the first round, as well as bleeding into day 2. Especially at defensive tackle, which the Vikings certainly should rack up and stack up. We have the meats again. Having more than one pick day 2 would make a lot of sense, and that's what it really comes down to. Where those positions that the Vikings do have positions of need, even though yes, drafting for need keeps you drafting for need, but edge, defensive interior, cornerback, maybe even quarterback are going to be thick, THICC, in day 2 value or back end of the first round value. Also, the Vikings lacking a third round pick, because of the Hawkinson trade, does weigh in. Where it's nice to have a couple of fourth round picks, but being alone at 11 and 42. Would like to meet that up a little bit. So if the Vikings were able to trade down, remain in the first round, and acquire a couple of other day 2 selections right in the thick of where the Vikings will have a firm talent base and positions that they're looking for, edge, defensive interior, cornerback, maybe even quarterback, that would make sense. Also, there's no Kyle Hamilton in this draft. So, hey, is Kyle Hamilton in this room right now? Do you see him right now? I don't know, man. But again, I fully understand that, hey, This happened with Spielman a lot, where there's nothing more frustrating. We're not even talking about first round picks. We're talking about day 2, early day 3. It's just like, hey, here we go. You're watching the ticker. Oh, the Vikings draft pick is coming up. Oh, they traded out for like a 7th round pick. But I do think that Kwesi could get him some serious value by moving down. And if the board breaks right, it would make sense. Or do you want the Vikings to just stick and pick and take Malik Neighbors, which Skull SU going 3 deep, baby? I don't know, but I think it's a spot where the Vikings can have their cake and eat it too. They can find their quarterback in the future. They can fortify the trenches. They can get multiple picks on day 2. All of that can be solved. All that can be solved, but it may take a little bit of trading, and people may not be happy about that, but I guess we'll see. Anyways, your thoughts are thoughts. Could the Vikings trade down from 11? I think it's plausible. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull, production value.